How did you learn to lip read? Did you teach yourself?
Sorry, can you say that again, please?
Who taught you to lip read?
She's asking who taught you how to lip read.
You taught me to lip read?
Yeah.
That's a very, very good question because they never found out that till I was 4.
I'm the same.
They never found out I was 4 that that's till I was 4 because I had needles when I was 13 months old. And it was only throughout the age of 4, my mum realised I wasn't picking up as much as my sister. And thought, need to get this checked out. So my mum always said I must have been lip reading then. And I was because I was able to pick up when my granny was there, my aunt was there, and other people in the family. So what she does notice was there were some people I couldn't pick up anything at all. So that's when she realised there was something not right. And so at the age of 4, I went to active doctor, specialist, and finally when I went to York Hospital, I met a Dr. Jones, and he found out that I was profoundly deaf. I did that wee bit of healing there. So they gave me a very, very powerful healing, which was a Philips healing. Now I maintain that healing gave me tinnitus because it was so powerful in this year. And this year is the one I have tinnitus. And that's an audiologist. He was a specialist in tinnitus. And he said it might have been possible that that could have been up because he said in those days, now I'm talking about the 1960s, because that's when I first got my hearing. And he said in those days, nobody really knew a lot about hearing like they do now. They could probably get it so pressed into my ear. I also got speech therapy from when I was 4 to 13. And my dad used to say when I was 5 or 6 that I had the voice of a 60-year-old lady because I was copying my speech therapy the way she would talk. And that over the years, I got my own accent and my own voice. But those speech therapists, I love them to bits because they gave me games with speech therapy, and that was how I learned to work. And when I was 13 years old, my hearing was starting to go down gradually, very gradual. But I really heard up to the age of 38, and that was because they said people at the age of 60 upward have an age-related hearing loss. But because I lost my hearing when I was 13 months old, it was going to go gradually. So by the time I was 38, I was hearing one day when I wasn't hearing the next day. So there's someone up there gave me the gift of lip reading. That's the only way I can work that out. But I do know that when I was very, very young, I tended to look at people rather than listen to people. So lip reading had always been a part of me, and I can't imagine myself without lip reading. And that's why my eyes are so precious, because I don't want to lose my eyesight at any point of my life, because I want to be able to lip read. People say, do you get taught to be able to lip read? I think you do if you get speech therapy and if you get the right help. My speech therapists were very clear, so I had to do a lot of homework at home. And then when I was 13, I was doing my O-level and my higher, and I couldn't cope with the speech therapy and studying for my exam. So my mum became my speech therapist. And even now, my 3 children, Pamela, Raymond and Mark, they tell me how to pronounce words. And I don't mind because I want to be pronouncing words correctly. Because when you think about, like for example, take an example I had when I was younger, words like aunties, beauties, and healing. Now, when I was a young girl, I was probably 8 or 9 at the time, and I used to say antiqua, beautyqua, and healingqua because of the way it was spelled rather than the way it sounded. So I'm afraid a few children laughed at me in the car, and I was then I went home back to my mum. I think I got those words wrong. So she actually wrote the word as how you should pronounce them. So what she did was she put Coetik, so it's basic, so I was able to pronounce words. So I have a dictionary, Oxford Dictionary, where I use pronunciation, but I always ask my children, am I pronouncing this right? Am I pronouncing that wrong? So I even before that, I asked my children if they could tell me if I was pronouncing some words right. But no, reading was always there with me. I think everybody reads up to a point because when you're on the train and you see people having a conversation and maybe someone's off the train and they'll go, I'll see you after. People are reading up to a point. So I think we've all got it in us. But if we've never had to use it because we've got a ear, you've got your ear. But for me, I've had to use it because my ears are not there. They're not working anymore, don't they? And but for the lip reading classes, it's just educating them that wee bit more on how to use lip reading. And it's fun. And it's amazing what people pick up from the lip reading. If you haven't heard anything, heard of a Dr. Word before, then they won't pick it up. So no, I wasn't taught how to lip read. I think someone up there gave it to me. Okay?
Yeah, great. That's fascinating. Thank you very much.
I also wasn't taught lip reading. I just learned it as I grew because I was
all right.
when I became deaf. My hearing hasn't changed though. My hearing's quite bad in my left ear. It's sort of moderate in my right. But I just learned to lip read as I grew up type thing, and I rely on it for everything. So I totally understand what Jill's saying about barriers and things. So yes.
Yeah. For me, I never heard the word.
Yeah.
I mean, my mum got out, didn't put into the house. He tried to get me to use the phone and to use the television, but I could never hear a word or language. That was something I never heard.
Yeah.
But I could hear someone knocking on the window or the dog barking, sounds like that. But over the years, because I'm not really hearing it anymore, I tend to use vibration and I feel the vibrations of the washing machine, the vibrations of the kettle. And the other day, the dog was sitting next to me and she barked really loud. So I was like, oh, I could hear that. But that's because she was right up against me. So it was more of an environmental sound. And that was why I got the hearing. It wasn't to pick up speech. And I do remember when I went to speech therapy, audiology, I took a feeling of throat better. And he actually made me take off my hearing and make me face the wall in a very dark room. And he would say something to me and I never got it. And I kept trying to tell him, I don't hear a word. But he was talking with the speech therapy with my hearing that I would be able to pick up the word. Now, in the 1960s, audiology rooms were depressing, dark, and frightening for a child to go into. And then one day he did it again, and I actually got the word right. And he thought, oh, everything's working fine. And then following week, I didn't get anything at all. So it was pure guesswork that I got that sentence right the week before. So yeah, there was a lot of expectations from me to be able to improve my lip reading, my hearing, but it was my lip reading that helped me more than anything.
I think there's a lot of that kind of expectation because I was the same when I was in school and high school. They would send somebody from, it was Windsor Park at the time, so they always had outreach teachers. And they had somebody that would come and assess what my listening was like. So they would make me sit with my back to this person and they would say words to me to see if I could hear them. And like if I can't lip read, then I can hear them saying something, but I don't know what it is they're actually saying if I can't see them to see what they're saying. So and I always felt quite embarrassed about that because it's quite a difficult thing, especially when you're a teenager and you're like, oh my God, I'm different from people. And it's quite scary. And yeah, it was an awkward thing, but they still do that. I think, I don't know if they still do that with children nowadays, but you know, they still do that sort of test people how they're hearing and if it's improving. But you know, we learn to cope in different ways. I think when we lose a sense, don't we? We learn how to do things in different ways.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, because like I know it's slightly different, but say I'm out shopping and for clothing, and my mum will be with me and she'll say, "Oh, do you like this?" And obviously she'll show me it, but I can't see it. But she'll hand me it, and then I touch it, and then I feel it, and then I know then what it feels like and what shape it is and what material it is, and then I know if I like it or if I don't like it. But just by using other senses.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, damn it, that, sorry.
So what she was saying was, I don't know if you can let me be me better than Laura, but what she was saying was explaining was that the way some people do certain things. So she was saying the story that a mum says, this is quite a nice top, that she can't see the top, so her mum hands it to her and she can feel what it feels like, what shape it is, what the material is like, and then can decide if she likes it type thing. So that coping, the way you cope with things and the way you then see the world in a different way and adapt to things.
My parents were very, they weren't pushy parents, but they were very much like, you're not any different from anyone else. You're going to do everything the same way as everybody else. And when I was younger, I went shopping for my mum, but I got a shopping list. And I remember one time I went into bar, that was the name of the shop, not there anymore, and I couldn't pronounce one of the words. And the man was roughly in that shop, he said, give me the right pen, so you looked at it, and I was able to get what I wanted. But no, mum, dad, life is what you make it, and it's up to you to help yourself. And I've always thought about that, everything I'm doing, always say, nothing's going to hold me back. I mean, even with the COVID-19, I was thinking, oh, I don't want to go out and do these things because of the face covering. Then I thought, wait a minute, my dad wouldn't be pleased if I'm doing that. How you going? I'll get on with it. So,
Yeah.
we're very proactive. They have said, you can do this, you can do this. There was very much a lot of that. And then through them, I thought, right, this is what I need to do. And I actually felt that after I became a mother myself, when I had my 3 children, that I became very confident in standing up for myself. Because before that, I was kind of relying on other people, but not much. But when I thought, oh, I've got my daughter Pamela and my son Raymond and Mark, who's going to stand up for them? It's me, I'm their mother. I mean, their father's dying, but he's great with them. But then I thought, when it comes to the health visitor, doctor, parents even, I was the one that had to go there. And to be honest with you, I thought the parents evening would be the easiest thing of all. But they were the worst in actually some situations, not all teachers. Some teachers were absolutely fantastic, but there was one teacher who was stuck in her pen when I went in, and I said to her, I'm deaf and epilepsy. And she went, what? I didn't know that. I said, well, everybody knows because I made the school aware that I was deaf and epilepsy. So she took her pen out of her mouth. So, and then there was another time, when a teacher was reading the report in front of him, and I said, you need to face me. So what I found is it's up to me to educate people and stand up for my family. And nothing ever held me back. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
I think that's my happy being deaf and looking, I went, no, nothing held me back. No, because I got that from the school, the primary. Secondary was much harder, but I got out of the support from the primary. But I also had I can't say this, but peripatetic teacher. And she came once a week, and she was absolutely fantastic. If there was anything I didn't understand in the class, and sometimes the teachers didn't always have time, so I asked her, and she would go over a few things with me, and it was a great help. But I like my dad said, life is what you make it, it's up to you to do what you can do. And that's what I feel has made me who I am today.
Definitely.
Yeah, you've got a great outlook, Jill. Very positive thinking.
Yeah, that's a very positive feeling. I mean, sometimes I forget I'm there. Sometimes because I just look at people and they say to me, are you really up feeding? And I go, yes, I am up feeding, but you feel like if you're not doing you're not looking at our faces so hard. It comes natural to me. But there will be the odd person that I can't look to. And there are some people that I know that I will never be able to look to. And I've accepted that this is the case of writing things down, dining, or miming, actually. But I tend to avoid them. I know that's not the right way to do that, but I don't like doing that. But you will find that the minute you say I'm deaf and look to, some people will help you, but there are other people who think, well, what's that mean? Then you know you have to educate them and say it in the right way. But the best thing of all, no matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, whether you're a lip reader, be a cell reader, for sometimes they may not be able to see that, but a smile is the best thing. If someone smiles at you, it breaks down the barrier. And if I smile, it helps them. So I've always said, a smile doesn't cost a penny, but it's a great thing to have. And if someone's grumpy, it makes it harder to look people. Next time you see me, give me a smile and we'll communicate quite happily.
Yes.
Well, there we go. Oops, sorry, this is my watch. So, would you like to tell us about your 3 favourite books that you've read?
Right, okay then. I'm actually a very avid book reader. I've always been reading books. That was another thing my dad said to me when I was younger. I know I baked quite a lot of stuff from my dad, but he was the one that gave me a lot of stuff throughout my life. My mum gave me tips about book reading and the way I was speaking and all the rest of it. But my dad would say, no matter what you read, whether it's a magazine or a newspaper or a book, it will always educate you. Now, I started reading books when I was 15, and I was reading books by Agatha Christie. And I was a friend along the road. We grew up together. We went to primary and secondary, and we're still friends today. There's 3 of us. And when we were 15, we agreed we would buy Agatha Christie books. I would buy one and she would buy another one. Now, believe it or not, there were 2 and 6 something birthdays. They were like £7.99 today. So the very first book I read about by Agatha Christie was Cat Among the Pigeons, and it was a murder story. And I absolutely loved that story because it was Miss Marple that was in the story. And then Marion gave me her book and I gave her mine. And that went on for many, many years. And I had all the Agatha Christie books because I love the idea of a mystery. And I love the idea of trying to work out who's done the murder. I'm not always right. Sometimes I am. And the one I liked was the mother plant from Die She Died. And that was about someone who had rubella and the baby was deaf and grew up to deaf child. There was a film star and she went to a garden party and she overheard a fan saying, well, I must go to speak to the lady. So she went over to speak to the film star and she told her that she was expecting a baby and she had German measles. And the film star realised that was how her child became deaf. So she murdered her for that reason. But that didn't come out till the end of the story. So that Agatha Christie book. Another book I've read, and it still sticks in my mind, is an autobiography of Death O'Connor. And it was just by one of my boys. And I remember thinking, Death O'Connor. But I have to say it's one of the best books I've ever read because it was called Bananas Can't Fly, right? And Death O'Connor had orchid when he was a boy, so he was unable to work. And at that time, it was just after the Second World War, and there was very little bananas around, and his father was trying to encourage him to work again because he's very weak and old. The only way he could make him work with the game to come to him for the banana. And that's O'Connor one day we got he didn't want to walk anymore and he died to his dad. After me banana and his father said, no, bananas don't fly. You have to come and get it for me. Come. And I always felt that Georgie, the determination of his father wanting his boy to walk again.
Yeah.
And that is the same way people have with any kind of disability, regardless of what it is. And the determination will get you there. And when Dr. Connor was about 8 or 9, he was so desperate to go down to the corner shop to get his mother out because he wanted to be able to do his walking. He was so happy he was able to walk. And when he came onto the corner shop, he was knocked down. And again, he was back in hospital. But this time, the damage was done. So he was in a lung chamber for a year, a very old-fashioned thing. And from then on, he always said he would have a walk every day to help him with his walking. So I've always liked that book, Dr. Connor, because he put up a fight for his life, and that shows you how much he came on throughout his life. He just passed away recently, but Banana Can't Fly, I thought that was a good way of his father encouraging.
Yeah.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. Sounds like a good book. Yeah.
Also read, so many books I've read actually. I read a lot of books by Jill
Ah, yes.
Oh yeah.
I know they're romantic books, but there's
Yeah.
also story in her book. And every single book I've read, it's been a different story, but one has stuck in my mind, and it was called Mirror Image, and it was about twin girls, and it was in the 1920s. And it was before the First World War, could have been the 1920s, it must have been before then, the 1915s, I think, and it was the First World War. Now, the twins weren't happily married. They wanted each other's husband, so they swapped and became wife to each other's husband. Now, this is something that baffles me. Yes, I know they were identical twins. My husband's a twin, and he's got an identical twin. But I can tell the difference between them. I can. Believe me, I can.
It's a good job.
But these two men never took the fact with a different life they had. And they both had different lives. One became a nurse in the war, and the other one became a lady of leisure. There were two different scales of life. One was poor and one was rich. And they agreed that after a few years they would brought back. And they did, but they weren't happy. So they brought back again. And then the husband still didn't know. Now she said, I can't believe this. But really how some books have an effect on you.
Yeah.
And I knew there was another one that was called Dying at Night, and I was by the same author. And I thought, I wonder why it's called Dying at Night. And I thought, I wonder if it had anything to do with deafness, hearing loss, or anything like that. But it was the wee boy's mother was caught in a car crash, and the aunt, she come in, but every time the music that would play was Dying at Night. The boy wouldn't talk, he wouldn't do anything, he would go upstairs. And the aunt didn't know why that was, and it turned out the night of the crash, his mum had played the music Dying at Night as the alibi on his, I think it was a musical stand or something. So that was why it was called Dying at Night. And the wee boy and the aunt became very close. Some of her stories are sad, but some of her stories are, they give you a good feel of the end
Yeah,
of it.
yeah.
Yeah.
I also like Meg Bunches. Meg Bunches,
Oh, yeah.
sadly she passed away, but all her stories are in Ireland. And there was one story about evening class where that was up my street because I'm a reading teacher, and the people in evening class, they were learning Italian, and what I found from that book was the people in the class all became friends, and that's what I hope from my reading class, that the students become friends, they're there for one another, and I really like that book as well. But what the author told me was they travel, the students in the class travel around Europe together to learn the languages. And that was a good book as well. But there's so many books I've read that I was hard to pick out my favourite one.
Yeah.
Right. At the moment, I'm reading a book about Princess Margaret, Lady in Waiting. I've just started reading again because I had to give my eyes a break after I had my glaucoma operation.
Yeah.
There's a book. I also like reading short stories as well. And like I said, no matter what you read, as long as you're reading something. But these are the three books, the four books rather, that I like reading. I could go on forever talking.
Indeed.
You need to join our book group at the Sensory Centre.
We have a book group at the Sensory Centre. She's saying you should join us.
Sorry, could you do that again?
Sorry, she was saying that there's a book group at the Sensory Centre and you should join us.
We all read the same book, and then we come back and we review the book. So it's a club.
Yes, I would love to start a book club. I really would love to start a book club because I would give people a chance to talk about the book. And I think there's nothing nicer than reading a book. We did try to start a book club somewhere else, but it fell through. But I would really like to have a book club because I think there's nothing nicer than reading a book. Or even talk about poetry. Because sometimes when you're talking about poetry, you get quite a lot out of a poem. And a book club would be a good thing. And to talk about a book that you've read, or pick a book and go away and read it, then come back.
Yeah.
But the thing about me, what I find is with my friends, we have read the same book. We all have different pictures of what the book's about, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
With Martha looks like an Agatha Christie, but my friend Marion, she's got a different picture of what Miss Marple looked like. There's that element of reading as well. And I love going to Waterstones or any of these bookshops and having a look around. And I think it would also be nice if books were done in BSL, because there are some people, I know some people who have never read a book, my husband's one of them, but he asked me to tell a story to him from a book that I've read, and I tell him what happened in the book, and he's actually quite interested in that. It's not his fault, he's not reading books, it's just the way things were way back in the 1950s and 1960s. Education is very different for deaf children in those days. And I've always said, read a book, we didn't do. Yeah, for a book club.
Cool. Well, thank you very much, Jill. It's been really nice to talk to you.
That's no problem at all. I've really enjoyed sharing my experiences and hope that I give people a better picture of lip reading. And one last thing I was going to say, accent can play a part in lip reading. And depending on the accent, some of the words are more pronounced than others. And sometimes they're easier to lip read than other accents might be difficult. But anyway, I'll stop now. Yeah, it's been lovely talking to you too.
Yeah, very interesting. Thank you very much.
Yes.
And
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Talk to you later then. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Welcome to Forth Valley Sensory Centre, where we support people with sensory loss. The centre provides a wide range of groups and classes, helps people access digital technology, and how to save money on their fuel bills. If you have a sensory loss or know someone who does, then please get in touch.
Great news for coffee lovers. Cafe Tiki reopens April 30th. Open weekdays from 9 AM, serving all your favourites. Why not enjoy our sensory garden at the same time?